Salutations, listeners. Sivalis Valeo.
Valabagulis.
Nanu.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Three Men in a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians. My name is Colin McLeod.
Marco Pierre.
Action Jackson.
In this podcast, we review movies, and we deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wide world of cinema. In this show, we try and target movies that are not total blockbuster smashes. We also look for ones that are not so obscure that you couldn't get your hands on a copy even if you wanted to. Instead, we like to aim for that delightful sweet spot right in the middle. Those movies that have been lost to time a little bit. Maybe you remember seeing this with your Nana and Pop.
Under a cushion, perhaps?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe you saw these projected on a wall in your local auditoria.
Maybe you were necking in the back of a pickup truck at a drive-in.
Oh, yeah.
You seem like you know too much.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Neckin'. It's adjacent to cakin'.
Yes.
Cakin' is close to bacon.
Yes.
And I love bacon.
Bacon is the candy of meats.
That's facts.
And we are gonna bacon this potato.
Yeah.
So, those movies, you know the ones we're talking about.
Yeah.
We review those movies and decide whether or not it's worth your time to go dig them off a shelf, dust them off, pop them in the old Betamax, spin them up, and watch them. This week, we reviewed the movie
The Crazies!
Whoa! And the German spin you guys did on
it worked.
That really, I think our German audience...
I think they're really going to appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's coming up.
Yeah.
The Crazies. The Crazies. 2010 movie, rated R. Is this rated R, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not. Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely rated R. 1 hour and 41 minutes. Thoughts?
This was a weird one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to say this without going into webs. But it kept me on the edge of my seat long enough and consistently enough that I was never bored, but it definitely felt like a longer movie.
Did it? Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
Mark, thoughts?
I felt like this was like an arc and drag in that when you think the movie is just about wrapping up, it might be at like the halfway point.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. In that, I think this movie actually goes along at a good clip. Like, at any sort of individual moment, it's moving pretty quick.
Yeah, never boring.
Never boring, but you're right. In the same way that I would say Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, right? You remember that flick? They, like, get off the island and you're like, the movie's done, and it's super not done.
Right.
There's like a lot more to happen. It's a little like that. There's a couple of moments where you're like, they could wrap it up here, but they don't. And I don't think to the detriment of the movie. I think the movie is, it's not like it drags because they didn't end it there, but it is a little surprising to the viewer, I think.
There were definitely a few moments where I was like, this would be a good wrap.
Yeah.
This would be a solid spot for them to end it.
But too soon.
Yes.
I think we're going to have to tease this apart.
Yeah. So, an hour 41, it felt it in a very weird way.
Yeah.
But it also moved. Don't think just because it felt an hour and 41, it dragged. Horror thriller. Thoughts?
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yes. There's one obvious missing genre, and again, we've talked about this with like Kung Fu, and we talked about this with a few other movies, but there are some things that don't always make their way into like being a proper genre, but they are, and in this case, the missing genre is zombie. This is a zombie movie, so just heads up, it is every bit a sort of tried and true classic zombie film.
And it's not your typical zombie, bite a person, get infected kind of stuff. It's a little bit different, so
Fresh coat of paint.
I can kind of see why they didn't slap the zombie tag on there, but it absolutely 100% is a zombie movie.
Totally zombie movie. And then, as zombie movies are wont to do, horror thriller is definitely appropriate.
Yep.
Okay, so what's our description of this movie, the IMDb description?
After a strange and insecure plane crash, an unusual toxic virus enters a quaint farming town. A young couple are quarantined, but they fight for survival along with help from a couple of people.
Along with help from a couple of people. What?
That was kind of a strange tie.
It was a strong start with a very weak finish.
Yeah. It was a weird bow to put on that.
But I mean, that's what happened.
With help from a couple of friends.
But like, not even friends,
Just people.
others.
Yeah.
With help from others.
I survive with a little help from my friends.
Are they the friends? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that encapsulates it. I don't think I would add anything to it.
Okay.
Or change some of the words, but yeah, that gets the bones.
So let's lead with directed by. So the director, the actual director of photography, is Breck Eisner, and I don't recognize that name.
I didn't either
much
when I saw the credits.
However, this movie was written and produced by George A. Romero. So something to take away from this is this movie is a remake of a 1973 movie by the same name that was written and directed by George A. Romero. George A. Romero, you know as the master of
The zombie
genre.
King of zombies.
He invented the zombie genre in many respects. I mean, the dude is unstoppable. Every major zombie film, basically, from the 60s to the 90s, was George A. Romero had a hand in, or
Dawn
directly,
of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
or served as the muse
directly
for.
influenced.
Yeah.
Yeah, or served as the muse for.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that it's his.
He created the modern zombie genre.
Yeah.
So, who do we got in this movie?
Oh man, I love Timothy Olyphant.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He doesn't have it's weird. He doesn't have brand recognition, in the same way that a lot of celebrities do.
He kind of pops up in some weird places.
But he's always welcome.
Yeah.
He's like the special K to other actors and actresses like Corn Pops.
Yeah.
Right? It's everybody, knows and loves Corn Pops and they're sweet and but when you get a mouthful of Special K, you're like, God damn.
Yeah.
I forgot how nice this is.
Yeah, ketamine is really nice.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
I got a mouthful of Oliphant.
You know what? The worst part about Timothy Olyphant is, he definitely took an unfair share of Handsome. When they were doling out the Handsome when we were all born.
You got an extra scoop.
He did. And he didn't say anything about it, which is, I feel like disingenuous.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a weird it's not an expression. His eyes are they're always half-mast.
Yeah, they're squinty.
He's trying to peer through his, I don't know, his.
It's like a sexy, non-conservative Clint Eastwood.
It's like a very distrustful face, but one that you would let watch your kids.
Well, depends on what he's watching.
Fair. I didn't say my kids.
Oh, you would let him watch our kids?
Yes.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
that tracks.
Yeah,
that tracks.
not as much to
Did you know he was in Bubble Guppies?
I did not.
I've never heard that.
I did not. So Timothy Olyphant, things that we know him from. So he plays Thomas Gabriel, the bad guy in Live Free or Die Hard, the one with, obviously Bruce Willis and Justin Long. He is also in
Justified.
Yeah.
He played the Marshal in the Book of Boba Fett recently.
Perfect Getaway. He was in that movie. That was pretty good with Steve Zahn. He's definitely one of those people where it's if you don't know who we're talking about, look him up and you'll be like, oh, that guy. I know that guy. Yeah, of course, I know that guy.
Yeah, flipping through his known for, I'm not pulling up too many blockbusters, but he's such a recognizable face.
Yeah, and he does slip in random places. He was in a couple episodes of The Office. He plays Danny Cordray, the super sexy traveling salesman who they're trying to recruit to Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, he was in Rick and Morty. He was on The Simpsons, Fargo, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Good Place.
Oh,
he's just all over.
The Girl Next Door.
Yep.
Oh man, he was in Rockstar. I forgot he was in Rockstar.
Oh,
with
dude.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
He plays one of his bandmates before he gets into Steel Dragon. Okay, so Timothy Olyphant, you know him, you love him. Who else do we have in this movie?
Radha Mitchell you might recognize, but she's a little bit more of a niche actress. She's been in mostly sci-fi stuff. She was in Pitch Black. She was the lead.
Oh yeah,
She was in Man on Fire and The Devil's Workshop. Fantastic actress in my opinion. Of the few movies that I've seen her in, she did the role very well. Some of the movies didn't land, but that's not necessarily her fault. That's more of a writer-director issue. But all in all, I think that she is a very solid actress.
So I think I'm going to mention two other people because they're sort of important to the movie, but to be perfectly honest, I don't recognize them. We've got Danielle Panabaker.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
Okay. It looked like she was in The Flash.
Yeah.
Who did she play in The Flash? Caitlin something or other.
Yep. So she's in The Flash. She's in Friday the 13th.
Who's she play?
In Friday the 13th, she plays Jenna.
Oh. Jenna is such a like Friday the 13th victim name.
Right. But
Yeah.
Jenna did not make it to the credit scene of that movie. I guarantee that.
But she was also in another Romero film called Fight of the Living Dead.
I don't think I've seen that. I've seen a lot of Romero, too.
Yeah.
We've also got Joe Anderson in this movie.
Which he actually has like higher recognizable films to his name, even though his name and face would not lead you to think that. He was in Across the Universe, The Ruins, The Grey.
Big movies, but definitely not. I feel like all of those movies relied on like one or two big names, and then everything else sort of fades, which I guess this actually kind of fits that bill, too.
Yep.
There's one other name I want to throw out here. He
Yes.
plays a super bit part in this movie, so don't go to this movie for this guy. But Glenn Morshower,
Oh.
this guy, if you ever see him in a movie or a TV show, he's a government stooge.
Yep.
Maybe he's an admiral.
He's a cop. He's a Navy man. He's a chopper pilot. He's
Whatever.
FBI.
He's always wearing a uniform.
Yep.
And that's just what he's known for, being
Cop Dude number 6.
Yeah.
Cop Dude number 6.5.
Okay, so I think we can move on to Rex.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I recommend it.
I definitely recommend it.
I also recommend it. I mean, you know, the one thing I would say...
Know
is,
your genre, though.
Know your genre. It's a
Yep.
zombie movie. We said that, you know, I think if you like zombie movies...
You'll like it.
You'll like it, I think. And I think it's definitely one where, like, if you like zombie movies, don't miss it. And I say that not because it's spectacular or it'll blow your mind. It's, like, the greatest movie ever. But I think it's a well-executed zombie movie.
Absolutely.
And if you like zombie movies, I think you'll jam.
Yeah, and I think in the same way that a movie like 28 Days Later, or 28 Weeks Later, where it's a zombie movie, it's unique enough that it doesn't feel like I know exactly what's going to happen. I think that it is an adequately fresh amount of paint. There are zombie movies out there that I think are garbage. Just because of how formulaic they are, and you know all of the beats. This one, it feels familiar, but it's unique enough.
Are you taking aim at my personal production, the George A. Romero Great British Bake Off crossover, Night of the Living Bread?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
They didn't know.
I feel
until
very
you
called
called
out
it
right now,
That's
and
good.
I'm just gonna say I'm not in a safe space.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but Bill Murray and Tilda Swinton did a zombie movie fairly recently, and it was hot garbage.
Okay, again, that's a good thing because I asked them to be in Night of the Living Bread, and neither of them even returned my call. And like we go way back.
Rat bastards, both of them.
Both of them. Both of them.
Bill, I know you're listening. Shame. Shame.
You need the bell to march him through the streets like in Game of Thrones.
Hey, try again.
Shame.
Ding!
Ding.
Shame.
Ding!
Ding.
Hey, perfect.
I'm really happy we made it through 2 of those because
I really thought
that worked.
I
thought that was going to work. For those of you listening at home, Jackson picked up a shot glass. Not that we're drinking. We don't do that.
Nope.
But Jackson picked up a shot glass and a plastic pencil and then smacked the pencil against it, expecting it to tink.
If you missed it, it sounded like this.
That's almost exactly what it sounded like. Moving on.
Gonna spoil this biatch?
Ready to blah 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 blah.
Bwah, 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 bwah.
Wow, he just like blessed the microphone.
It was like he was
with-
playing a theremin.
Yeah, I guess I would thought he was going like full Archbishop on us, like.
Wait, can I
Bwah,
play
bwah,
the
bwah.
theremin with that, or are we? Has it been too long? Like, can I retract and then resubmit a bwah?
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah, we can do
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
The theremin thing, it inspired me.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
God, I feel like that was worth.
That was definitely
Going back
definitely
for.
worth it.
Yeah.
In fact, I found a theremin at the share house.
No, you
I did.
did you buy it?
I did. I have to fix it because it doesn't work, but I will fix it.
That's pretty boss.
Yeah, I've never seen a theremin in real life before.
So dope.
You've seen a Thera woman,
Yes,
never a Thera.
plenty of theremin.
Yeah,
Very sexual.
Yeah,
it's definitely like that whole Amazon thing, right? All the Thera men died out.
Yeah.
The Thera women persisted
Yeah.
and created a utopian culture of funny sounds and
and death by snoo snoo.
Yin Death by Snoo Snoo. And the Thera men just, I mean,
They were snoo snooed.
they snoo-snood them to death.
Yep.
Which, I mean, hey, come on. That's a way to go out.
Of the ways to go,
Of the
I
ways
think
to
I
go.
would have to put that at the top of my list.
Yep.
I'm
the
sure that I follow.
tippy top, you might say.
I follow.
Yeah. You know exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, so how does this movie start?
I actually really like the opening sequence of this movie. It basically opens on a post-apocalyptic hellscape of a town. Very easy to identify this town was like once upon a time a very cute little middle America type downtown, and it is just in fucking pieces. Things are on fire. There is not a person in sight, and it's just a sort of slow
Not a live person, anyway.
Not a live. It's a slow pan across this scene, and then it just says 2 days earlier on the bottom, and then it cuts to the same town, thriving, people out in the streets, having a good time.
There's a cut scene of a combine harvester and a lady riding it wearing hair curlers and smoking a cigarette.
Wow.
Are you
Hyper specific.
joking?
Nope.
Is that actually in the movie?
That's actually in the movie.
I can't tell if he's fucking with me.
I'm not fucking with you.
I have no ammunition.
I don't remember that.
I have to capitulate.
I don't remember that.
Yep, straight up. She's got a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, hair curlers and everything, and she's driving a combine harvester through her field.
Yeah, but what's she smoking? What brand?
That's a good question.
Yeah, see, I found a hole.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
I recall.
Yep,
They
that's
were
the hole
Marlboro
we
Lights.
found.
They were Marlboro Light 100s.
Okay, so yeah, right. So Middle America, we're still
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's not totally out of place for Middle America in the spring, right? Which actually it is a little bit because it's the spring and she shouldn't be harvesting it. They should be planting. They made it very clear that it was spring because it was opening day for baseball.
Yep.
And later we will find out that it's planting season. So, okay, so
I think they did a decent job of like just establishing, the characters without it feeling too forced.
Yeah.
So basically, when it fucking goes off, I love the speed at which this movie accelerates.
Right, and it comes out of nowhere.
It does. I mean, like I said, it's opening day. It's spring. By opening day, I mean opening day of baseball, and the whole town turns out for this like local baseball team, and it's just kind of like cutesy going on. Haha, everybody's cracking jokes, and then out of nowhere, and I almost used the phrase "out of left field," but it actually I think it was out of center field.
Yeah.
This guy walks onto the baseball diamond with a shotgun in his hand. Very clearly, this dude is like not all there.
Not what you want to see at a community baseball game.
No.
Yeah, sheriff thinks he's drunk, starts just trying to talk him down.
Yep.
And had a good reason to believe he was drunk. Like, he definitely had issues with alcohol that became, like,
And the dude
that
was like,
came out later that, like, he actually did have that. It was reasonable to assume maybe he fell off the wagon.
and it was like talking to a sheep. The lights were on, but nobody's home.
Right.
Yeah, and this dude is staring him down in a, I don't know, what would you call it?
It wasn't like he didn't have anger.
No, it was like almost, it was a part confusion. It was like a dash of confusion.
It was like confusion, fear, and uncertainty.
Like a wide-eyed confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he
but
tells-
like the kind of confusion where it's like, if you make the wrong move, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Kind of confusion.
Yeah, there's
right?
the fear. And he tells his deputy, get the boys in the dugout. So the whole team clears the field. The entire community is at this baseball game. Very clear that it's an important day. And everybody's watching this go down. They're watching the sheriff talk to this community member that they all know. Like, this is a small enough community that everybody's on a first-name basis.
I mean, there's probably only 1,000 people in this whole community.
That's
It's a
probably even pushing it.
teeny tiny town.
Yeah.
So he's talking to the guy, and he's trying to talk him off the ledge, tell him, lower the gun, put the gun down. And he unclips his service weapon, and this guy, who we know as Rory at this point, levels the shotgun, and the sheriff, without missing a beat, just whips out and puts one round straight through his dome in front of the entire town.
Right.
Like, that is how the movie basically opens. That is the first 5 minutes of the film.
Was it?
Yeah, no, it was. This movie went 0 to 60, and I love that about it, because you're not, especially with like something like a zombie movie, it's like, I know there's going to be a fucking zombie. Like, I know it's going to be zombie horror, blah, blah, blah. Like, hit the gas!
Yep.
I've seen a lot of movies in my day, and as somebody who loves Romero, I'm a little ashamed to admit this. I have not seen the original Crazies. I don't know if it hits the gas in the same way, but I do love that. I love when directors have the ability to remake their movies. Like, I think one of the greatest examples of this in history is Sam Raimi remaking The Evil Dead.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
the remake of The Evil Dead was so fucking good. Like, he killed it. And the beauty of it, the reason I bring this up, the beauty of it is he got to, like, execute all of the things that he didn't have the budget, time, or expertise for when he made the original.
Yeah.
And he made it exactly the way he wanted, and it's fucking awesome. The original's awesome too, but it's awesome for different reasons. It's campy and it's nostalgic. This movie, again, having not seen the original, having not that sort of nostalgic connection, I don't know if it takes off the same way, but I can imagine it might not have. And him just sort of, like, throwing it into first and, like, flooring it right away.
I can picture it
being like a strategic decision that wasn't made in the first and was corrected later.
Yeah, I can picture it, like, released the movie and everybody that saw the original is going to see the remake, right? They're like, oh, they're remaking the Crazies. I love that film in the 70s. And then they watch it and they're kind of expecting the movie to go the same way. And then suddenly we're just going to take off and hit the gas.
Yeah, I thought they did a pretty good, like, it didn't feel like it was 5 minutes for me. Like, I felt like by the time it happened, I felt comfortable with the setting that they had established.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job of, like, establishing characters and setting, like, just enough to get you comfortable, and then they could proceed. It didn't drag on the initial setup.
Yeah, you definitely weren't, like, confused by it.
It's not like you get
it was
whiplash
well
from it.
timed. It was well timed. And actually, that's one of the things I liked about this movie a lot was, like, especially in the beginning, I felt like the progression of events was extremely believable.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, from here, you got this guy in the morgue who was shot publicly because he pulled a shotgun on the sheriff. I don't know if we mentioned, but he actually did point the shotgun, and then he, like, raised it like he was going to fire, and that's when he shot him. I think, Jackson, you may have said it already, but you got this guy in the morgue. The tox report comes back, and he had no alcohol in his system. They have
no drugs, no alcohol,
no idea why he was acting that way.
No psychoactive substance, like.
Now you've got another fella who's exhibiting strange symptoms. Bill, he is
brought into the doctor
because he's acting kind of strange.
Yeah, by his wife.
Yeah,
and the doctor is Timothy Olyphant's wife.
Yeah,
the sheriff's wife.
Yep.
David,
and he's
her name is not David.
Oh, my mistake.
Probably not.
Sometimes my memory is not infallible.
Not many good.
I mean, you got the cigarette on the combine.
Yeah.
So,
his wife, David.
Yes. David Lopez.
Oh, no. But this guy, he's, like, borderline responsive. Like, he will respond to questions if, like, pushed, but he's not there. Like, and
he, like, repeats his answers.
Yeah.
Like he's, like, they're rote.
Like, he's, like, super distracted by something, sort of. You know, that's just kind of, like, the vibe you're getting. Because he's not, like, exhibiting, like, zombie-esque behaviors. He's just not there. And he's not acting crazy. He's just distant.
Yeah, he responds to the doc eventually after, like, the second or third time she addresses him, and he says, she worries too much. I'm fine. I'm just really tired. And then she says, well, you got any plans for the weekend? And he says, she worries too much. I'm fine. I'm just really tired. And that's the moment all of us are like, this dude's not okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh raggy.
Ruh-roh raggy.
So he is not okay. But, I mean, again, I think what Mark was saying, too, is, like, still within the realm of, like...
Could have a TBI.
Shit you've seen before, right? Like, this is, like, heartbreaking to say, but, like, I have known people who have had things like strokes, and people think they're drunk, and it's had dire consequences, and it's like... Because sometimes the symptoms of shit like that manifest in ways where you might think it's something else.
Well, and the dude's a farmer. He could have fallen off of his tractor.
It could be a million things,
It could have been pesticides fucking with his brain.
Yeah. And so the doctor's basically like, not slow playing it, but like, okay, we're going to go get him an MRI.
Yep, we're going to get him a CAT scan. We're going to make sure his brain's okay.
But we're going to do that Monday.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, he went home that night, and let's just say he had a barbecue.
Yeah. Locked his family in a closet and set the house on fire.
Yep.
I mean, they're splitting hairs, he had a barbecue. And
they were already in the closet, all right?
So right, I mean, he basically didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Right, they were not hiding from him or anything.
No.
Yeah.
It's not like he had a knife or, was acting like a fucking psycho.
It's a barbecue. You're going to have a knife, sir.
I mean, this is true.
For the doggies.
Yeah.
For the doggies. So sheriff gets called in middle of the night.
Wife comes with him because he hears like what happened.
Right. And Bill is like sitting on like the back of a pickup truck, like whistling and like humming a little tune to himself while his house is burning in the background.
And the firefighter says something to the effect of, only Bill made it out. She and the kid are still inside. Mm-hmm. And this motherfucker's out here mowing the lawn.
Yeah, like there was a gas can sitting outside the door, and he's out there mowing the lawn.
Yep.
Like clearly it was set intentionally, and you might say he was acting a certain way. I'm not sure exactly what I would call it. Not sane.
Sane adjacent.
Sane adjacent. Just,
are you trying to say he's crazy?
No, that's not it. No,
that couldn't be it.
No, that's not it.
No.
He's
the sillies.
He's got the sillies. That's what it is. Yeah. Mark, you hit it.
Motherfucker's got the sillies.
He's got the silly willies.
Yeah. Big old goofball.
So, one more additional little wrinkle. They get a call from 3 duck hunters who are sort of marching through the swamp. They see what looks like a sheet in the trees. They walk over to it, and it's attached to some strings. They pull the strings, and there's a feller under the water that pops up, and he is... dead.
Mucho dead.
Clinically...
Bit of a moist raisin, if you will.
Clinically dead.
You ever try to rehydrate a grape by sticking a raisin in some water?
No.
I imagine that is what that
would
look like.
I have done that, and that's what it looks like.
I don't like that.
I was like 6. I thought...
Are these your hobbies, Jackson?
Yeah, I get bored, all right?
Yeah.
You know, there are other things to do with your time.
You can only do so many things when you're watching a 1-year-old.
I'm saying, like, you could pick your nose, you could stuff things in outlets.
No, don't go with the nose picking, because he will try to rehydrate the boogers.
I've never done that.
Rehydrate a booger.
Rehydrate a booger.
Boom. Next science project.
You're just wasting raisins.
Dude,
you
that's
can rehydrate
where
boogers.
babies come from, bro.
It is.
I mean, I've never tried.
I like it.
I have met a few children that I'm pretty sure were just rehydrated boogers.
Yep.
We did want a second one, so...
well, there you go.
There you go. It's faster.
Yeah.
Get a little snot rocket and go to town.
Dip that bitty... Just dip that puppy in some Fiji.
Add a little Miracle Grow.
I feel like if you grew a child from a booger in Fiji, I feel like the kid would grow up pretentious.
Yes.
I feel like it would be the kind of kid who would, like, ask for agave.
Yeah.
Just casually. You know? Do you have organic avocados? You know? That kind of kid?
Yeah.
Looking for that kale-flavored Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Something.
Get some of that Clear Mountain spring water.
Yeah. No, it's Perrier or nothing.
Trash. What happens? The next thing I'm thinking of is the doctor's office. But
okay, hang on. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But Booger Children.
Yep, Booger Children.
Band name, Booger Children.
Rehydrated Booger Children?
I feel like that would be part of their backstory in the same way like Guar has like a backstory.
Right.
And then their first big single would be Rehydrated.
Yeah.
What does the word hydrogenated mean?
Hydrogenated? Yeah. As in like partially hydrogenated soybean oil? I don't know. But it's gotta have something to do with like adding water molecules to something.
Because I want to say partially hydrogenated Booger Children.
PHBC.
Too much?
No. Okay. Here's the okay. Booger Children is the band name.
Okay.
Rehydrated is their big single. Partially hydrogenated Booger Children is the movie that they inevitably make.
Like the biopic.
Like Chud.
Yeah.
Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. Mm-hmm. They're going to make that movie about their own origin story. In the same way that, like, in the late 70s and 80s, Kiss made a whole bunch of sort of, like, animated and live-action classics.
And they partnered with Scooby-Doo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like Booger Children will take a similar tact.
Yeah,
I would watch that.
I would watch the shit out of partially hydrogenated Booger Children.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a good time. But, like, what does happen next?
Okay, so they've got 3 dead bodies. They've got the guy who was killed by the sheriff on the baseball diamond. They've got the guy who killed his family.
He's not dead yet.
I should say,
He's locked up.
He's locked up. He's getting, like, progressively fucking crazier.
Yeah,
bleeding,
and progressively more dead.
Bleeding from his eyes, ears, and mouth. I feel like it is palpable that this movie came out before COVID because, like, somebody is literally exhibiting signs of a hemorrhagic fever and nobody's wearing a mask. So you've got that guy. Well, I mean, I suppose you've got two other bodies, right? You've got his wife and child. And then you've got...
Briquettes, really.
Briquettes, yeah.
Oh.
That was dark.
I regretted it.
That was...
the second it came out of my mouth.
Objectively, that was funny.
That's a mother and child. But that's fine. Some briquettes.
Partially hydrogenated briquettes.
We're just like collectively refer to them as Kingsford now.
Yeah, they'll keep it going.
Mark's just disgust and derision towards us. It's just like, yeah, keep it going. Yeah,
So
that's fine.
Why
you're being recorded right now.
That's why the fire was so hard to put out, because it just kept burning.
Sponsored by.
This episode brought to you by MapGas. Okay, so the last body is the pilot, the guy that they pulled out of the swamp who had the parachute. At this point, I told you I was going to sort of signpost and talk to you about why I feel like the beginning of this movie is really awesome and kind of realistic and tracks in a really like kind of understandable and progressive way. They figure it out pretty fucking quick. So, I'm sorry, let me rewind. After they find the pilot and they've got the three bodies, the deputy ends up coming to Timothy Olyphant's character and saying like, hey, so-and-so, Jim McFungus down the road said, hey, I heard something crash the other night, and I just, basically dismissed him because that guy's fucking crazy. It turns out that, like, hey, well, let's check it out because we got a fucking dead pilot in the middle. Where's the plane? So they go look for it. They end up finding it. It's in the middle of a fucking swamp, or river, rather. And then they end up putting it together pretty quick. They end up saying basically like, hey, where does the town's drinking water come from? And whose well is it going to hit first? And
turns out it was Rory.
Turns out it was the guy who...
First guy who went nuts and...
walked onto the fucking baseball diamond.
Yep.
And they basically isolated to the water really quick, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And again, like... yeah, that's awesome, but it's also like, I feel like people are smart enough to figure that out, right? Like, and it drives me nuts, like, a lot of movies, it's like halfway through the movie, they're like, do you think it could be the water? Do you think it could be, like, whatever the fuck it's obvious that it is?
What does every human in this community have in common?
Well, like, the difference is he not only, like, thought about it, but he just did it. He took care of it.
Yep.
Yeah, and so he immediately goes to the mayor from Jaws.
Basically.
This dude, like, literally, this is the exact scene in Jaws where he's like, we've got a killer shark on the loose, and the guy's like, it's beach season, and that means money and tourists.
Fuck the shark!
Yeah. Except he looked like the mayor in, Nightmare Before Christmas.
He did. And so, yeah, he basically says, like, it's springtime, it's planting season.
We're not shutting off the water.
We're not shutting off the water.
Or no, his exact words were, water stays on.
Yeah. And Timothy Olyphant being a badass. And, like, again, this is, like, I mean, maybe not quite super duper believable in the sense that, like, many people wouldn't risk their jobs, but it's the kind of thing that you want a character to do in a movie, right? Just, like, he's basically just like, fuck you, and he goes and turns off the water anyway.
Yeah, so he shuts off, he breaks in, he shuts off the water, and then steals the pump handle so nobody can turn it back on. And I didn't write this one down, but there is a quote here that I really like. His deputy was like, hey, I'm all for a little civil disobedience, but don't you think this could cost you your job? And David, Timothy Olyphant's character, goes, yeah, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. So he then goes, I think, to the doctors?
Yeah, I think he goes to the coroner, doesn't he? No, not the coroner.
I think it's all in one.
So he finds himself in the middle of the street downtown. There is a black SUV that is clearly like staking him out, and when he walks towards it, it fucking takes off. And he realizes the street in the middle of this town, which is normally bustling with people, is completely empty and abandoned.
Yeah, midday in the height of spring in a farming community, the entire town is desolate.
Yeah.
And we missed something too. There are a few scene transitions where it'll like jump to like a satellite view and then kind of like move back, and it'll give you like a little bit of I don't
context.
Yeah. And the scene where he's in the town, he's on camera. You see him on camera. It kind of like zooms out from the perspective of whoever is in that van. So you can tell that whoever's in this van that he sees that drives away is a part of the group that is in the know.
Yeah, whoever's in charge of the satellite.
Yeah, one of the satellite images, you see the words flash up on the screen, initiate containment protocol. Mm-hmm. So you know that this is in some way a government-affiliated group that knows what the fuck is happening.
Let's be honest, it's probably a subcontractor.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
The lowest bidder.
Yep, cheapest option.
Yep. So he ends up going into the corner, the sort of like, it was the corner funeral director, hair care, tire center.
Yeah, he hears a bang coming out of the funeral home.
And general store.
Mm-hmm. School.
Yeah. I jest, but basically, it was basically the...
Dentist.
He's the corner / funeral director guy, which, in a small town, you got to wear multiple hats, right?
Hairstylist.
Yeah, he was also the town's accountant and,
makeup artist.
A few other things.
Cosmetologist.
He also directed the local movie.
Yes. I'm going to stop because I can keep going forever.
So he goes in there and, guys, what does he find?
Bodies.
Yeah, he starts looking at the bodies, and he's noticing that they have some weird sort of disfiguration to them. I think one of the people have their eyes sewn shut, and their mouth is sewn together. Just really kind of disturbing, like
Black Plague style body preparation.
Yeah, and the guy who's got his mouth sewn shut.
There were two guys. There was a dead guy, and then a guy who's
not so dead.
Not as dead as the first guy.
He starts opening the stitches in the guy's mouth, and the first words out of whoever this guy's mouth is, look behind you. Which, point of fact, his eyes were shown.
I know. I thought about that too.
Either way,
to
works.
be fair,
the scene
he
works.
probably has a good idea that dude is not done sewing eyes and mouths shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. The scene works well. Coroner, doctor, funeral director, postman, just comes out of nowhere
with a bone saw.
No. First, he cracks him across the fucking head with
knocks
a pipe.
him out, or would have, right along the hairy edge because it's his eye.
Because of what?
He's right on the verge of passing out.
Yes.
Almost unconscious. Yeah, and then the bone saw.
Yeah.
Bone saw!
Bone saw is ready!
I got you for 3 whole minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
Snap into a Slim Jim. The cream rises to the top,
Real crazy. Not what you want to be attacked with, in general.
No, I mean, I gotta say, 1 star for things I would want to be attacked with.
Yeah.
Right. But to his credit, he straight up kills his assailant with the fucking, saw, which is super badass. If someone's coming at me with a chainsaw or whatever, I'm probably not going to have the willpower to then kill them with the very weapon.
Yeah, no, that would be tricky, because you'd have to disarm them first and then turn it around on them.
And you'd have to have, the mental fortitude to kill another person with, a reciprocating saw.
Yeah.
I suppose it, depends on what they're attacking with, right? Okay, hypothetically, right? Let's imagine somebody just, comes at you bare knuckles, right? Or maybe they're, a karate master and they're, coming at you with their hands. To rip that person's arm off and then, savagely beat them to death with their own arms.
That's, a 10 on the difficulty scale.
That's tough. But disarming somebody who's got a chainsaw
would be lower on the difficulty scale.
But still impressive.
Yeah.
Versus a gun, which is a 1 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
It's I lost my gun. It's I got it, bang bang.
Well, I'm just saying that up to this point, we've seen him. Well, he shot a motherfucker,
Mm-hmm.
But he kills a man with a reciprocating saw, or what is it?
It's the
sideways Dremel.
Yeah, no, it's the saws that they use
crack open a chest cavity.
Yeah, they go through. Well, believe it or not, for a chest cavity, they usually use bolt cutters to crack through the ribs. But it's the type of saw that they use. They'll cut skull caps with it.
Right.
Is basically what it's typically used for, I believe.
I'm just saying that you have to it takes some mental fortitude to kill a person with that instrument. Mm-hmm. And so that death, for me at least, was more brutal than some of the others, just because of the jump that we took.
I feel though it was a little bit accidental / incidental in that
Yeah,
he doesn't like
I
take
agree.
he doesn't take the saw and then fucking ram it into the dude.
No, he was fighting for survival and happened to notice that the guy was like wrapping the cord around himself. So he grabs the cord and pulls tight on it so that the bone saw, angle grinder, meat hook of death thing just like sinks into the guy's chest.
Yeah.
So he keeps pulling because that's his only way to survive.
Yeah, and he's basically just saying bones.
So
I mean, it worked.
So then this saw hits the ground and is like oscillating towards the blade hitting the floor, and Olyphant has that oh shit moment and starts backing away, and it just takes off, going right after his gonads, and that's when his deputy comes in and stomps the cord and then unplugs it, saving,
The gonads.
countless lives.
Hashtag friend.
Yeah.
Hashtag friend.
That is a good friend.
You know what? I would buy that gentleman a beer.
Like a Molson.
I would say I would
No, not like a craft beer.
No.
I mean, it's yes, you saved my balls, but it's like, I mean,
Here's a cold
come on,
PBR.
that's like that's like a PBR Molson kind of deal. It's not a
Say-
not how you're buying your bells.
I would say I would like this man to watch my back,
You saved my bells, but I'm not buying you bells.
but he was very clearly watching Olyphant's front, and I think that was more important to him at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's where he keeps his wee wee.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the crotchal destination
Yeah.
of said, you know?
Yep.
Now, Crotchal Destination, forgive me, that is the porn version of Final Destination?
I believe so,
Is that
yes.
correct?
I believe it's called Vaginal Destination.
Oh. Well,
Crotchal Destination is the knockoff of Vaginal Destination.
Now, do
more
either
ambiguous.
of these movies involve a large log falling off of
Extra large dildos,
a
actually.
logging truck and then bouncing into something, which, you know, may or may not be a car?
it's a sex thing.
Look it up. It's a sex thing.
Log jamming,
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
which is a reference to the Big Lebowski.
It
in
sure
case you
is.
missed it.
You know, it sure is.
So,
I'm the only one that gives a goddamn shit about the fucking rules anymore.
so this scene ratchets up the movie, and it doesn't go back down from here.
No.
But let's see what else happens here. We leave the corner. Shit's getting crazy. Town's pretty much done.
He has told his wife to go stay with her sister.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to.
Nope.
She is resistant to that.
Kind of rude,
A little bit.
you know.
A little bit.
What is the next beat?
Okay, so the next major scene is them getting abducted. I'm trying to think of where they were.
Okay, so they're at home. They're talking about how they need to leave. And during that conversation, she says, hey, there's somebody outside. Mm-hmm. And that's when they get abducted by the
Yeah,
military.
he goes to the barn and he's trying to check out who's outside, and then he hears his wife screaming from inside the house. So he runs out of the barn and immediately gets grabbed by these government stooges, these soldiers in gas masks.
Yep.
Fucking jackbooted stormtroopers, bro.
Right?
So the military is rounding up the citizens, throwing them on school buses.
We're from the government, and we're here to help you.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Get on this bus or I will shoot you.
Boom, boom,
Don't
boom,
give
boom,
it
boom.
back.
They are separated. They do like a quick temperature reading on everyone as they're coming in.
Yeah, they
to the
basically go
processing
through
center.
like processing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID procedures.
Fewer people were executed, probably, but yes, generally that is the procedure.
It depends on your social network, but
I guess that's true. I believe InfoWars would have you believe that they were executing people in mass,
yes,
bulldozering
And
them
burning the
into
bodies.
bulldozering them into mass graves.
it's good. It's good. So she's pregnant. I don't know if we had mentioned that.
We have not. We don't know how far along she is, but she's
like
She's not popping.
fucking like 5 days.
right. I mean, they
told-
decorated the nursery, but she was not showing.
But clearly nobody else knew about it.
Right. So
So that also
still,
is kind of like she's not showing, and his deputy, who you kind of surmise is his best friend, did not know about it.
So it's safe to say that they're between the 8 to 12 week spectrum, where they're not quite telling people, but they are getting ready.
But they're like still like super pregnant.
Perhaps nesting.
Yes.
Okay, so she has a temperature because there's 2 of her, and she's separated. She's strapped down into this room. he is just kind of moved into this, like, where is he at?
They're basically trying to, like, load him into a series of, like, pens towed by 18-wheelers.
Yeah, they set up a containment field at the high school.
Yeah, I hate to, like, draw comparisons to, like, the Holocaust.
It
but,
was like that, yeah.
Basically, like, the way they transported Jews and prisoners of war during the Holocaust was, like, packing them into what was ostensibly
like shipping containers.
Cattle cars and shipping containers, and like pulling them on the train. This was basically the same thing, but it was 18-wheelers were pulling them.
I don't think that was unintentional either.
Oh no, it was. Yeah. I mean, it was very.
The symmetry is impossible to miss.
Yeah, it was very intentional. So they're trying to basically shepherd him into this, and he says, I'm going back for my wife. He slips away. I think it's a little bit easier because at this point, they came in what was an actual like a firefighter's vehicle. So like, how townships and cities and shit have vehicles that are owned by the fire department that are not fire trucks or ambulances.
They're emergency response vehicles.
Right, basically it's so these
it's a Suburban with lights on it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, these guys pull up in like it was like an F-350, and they fucking crash through this temporary but still very sturdy chain link fence.
That wasn't the soldiers. That was like just randos.
No. I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like they basically like. But two of the guys that hopped out had like. They were wearing like blue with like badges and shit, and I think they were like at least some of them were firefighters and stuff, and they were basically just townsfolk who realized what was happening and wanted to kind of free the people, and so they crashed this fucking vehicle into this fence, hop out with guns, and then this like firefight ensues, and then people panic. They push down the fences, and then all hell breaks loose, and Timothy Olyphant sort of uses this as his...
Look, a distraction!
Yeah, his way to sort of slip out. Gets back to the police station.
I am a little miffed that they didn't show us a little bit more about how he got back to the police station, because it's not a short walk.
No, but he's a pretty fit fella. So, he gets back to the police station, and his deputy is there, and they meet up, team up. Wonder Twin powers activate.
Form of an ice menorah.
Form of gun?
Basically.
I'm going ice menorah. You know what's weird is that, like, were they at the high school when they were being processed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they left the high school.
Correct. To arm themselves, basically.
And then go back.
To rescue his wife. But in the meantime, the military has fucked off because, a firefight ensued, the containment was breached, all hell broke loose, and so the military, like, took off in their helicopters. So it's basically, like, the Crazies and whatever fucking leftover people.
Yeah, they were like, infected. Well, these people are infected. They're already dead, so we're not going to try and save them or examine them. We're just going to piece the fuck out.
So his wife and several other people who may or may not have been infected were all basically laying strapped to gurneys, not even, like, restrained in the way that you might be if you were, like, a threat to yourself, right?
No, this is like transporting a body.
Yes, exactly. Like belts across, like, chest, neck, feet, hands, like, you're
a brick.
You're basically a mummy.
Yep. Yeah. And while these individuals are, like, kind of strapped, some of them are laughing, some of them are
crying,
like, making weird sounds. Like, you can tell that, like, there are crazies amongst them. But you hear kind of like some metal dragging, and I think this scene was a part of the trailer back in the day. Like, this is kind of like, I think, if you see like the cover of the movie, this is kind of like that title piece. But there is a guy who's kind of walking down the hallway with a pitchfork, walks into the room, and starts impaling, just skewering anyone that he finds that is alive.
Sick or not.
Right. And as you'd expect, Timothy Olyphant kind of saves the day just as his wife is about to die. They shoot this particular dude.
Ben.
Yep. They rescue, was it Becca?
She plays Becca in Friday the 13th.
She plays Jenna in Friday the 13th.
Jenna, is that what it was? Was her name Becca in the movie?
I think it was Becca.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right, sorry. I was just, Becca, Jenna, it's, 6 and half a dozen.
No, you're right to question my memory. I accept it. This is not an Anthony Starr situation.
Okay. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, you fucking came out that
Savantism.
left field with that one.
Yeah,
Came out of
sometimes-
center field with that one.
Sometimes lightning. Just don't look for it again.
Yeah, it doesn't strike twice.
So they get out of there. So right now, the title cast, we've got the sheriff, his wife, his deputy, and her
Girl number 2.
But girl number 2 was like the nurse at
The doctor's office.
Yeah, so there
Yeah.
is some connective tissue there.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, no, she's definitely number 4 in importance.
Right.
So they...
Their plan is to get back to a vehicle, but their plan is to get to the main drag.
Yeah, first they go into town.
Yeah, they go into town because they're trying to find a vehicle to get themselves around. And they get down to the main drag of the town, and all of the vehicles have boots.
They were not made for walking.
No. Or driving.
But you know just what they'll do? One of those days, those boots are going to stay right fucking put because a car with a boot can't drive.
Exactly.
Them motherfuckers ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. So this is where shit goes from bad to worse, because they're now in major crisis mode, because there's crazies after them, there's the government stooges after them.
And Duck Dynasty's after them, too.
And Duck Dynasty's after them. And they have no wheels. They have no way to get around. So they're checking all these vehicles, and they do find a pickup truck that doesn't have a boot. So they're like, sweet. And Timothy Olyphant notices that there's like blood dripping down from the tailgate and tells his deputy, get out of the truck. And
Which, like, I mean, come on. Blood dripping down from the tailgate. Think about your resale value.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just... It's irresponsible, basically.
Yeah.
Right? It's letting your car get to a state where you're just never going to be... It's like smoking in your car.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able
never
to
gonna
sell
get it
that
out.
car again,
It
you know?
depends. It depends on the sales angle, you know? You could, it's accoutrement,
Just
to the...
throw down a tarp. If you're going to stack bodies in the back of your truck,
throw down a tarp.
put a fucking tarp down.
It's vintage, though. It's like the torn jeans of trucks.
Is it, though?
Yeah, like you pay extra for the blood.
I thought truck nuts were the new torn genius of trucks. Is that just for people with small penises?
Yeah, truck nuts, I mean, that's a sex thing,
It is.
Yeah.
Like, I got some truck nuts.
So, like, technically, I mean, if your car didn't come with truck nuts and you put truck nuts on that car,
Your car is now trans.
that car is transgender now.
Yeah.
And you support trans rights.
Right,
Yep.
but where does the blood come in? Do you not need it if you've got the truck nuts?
No.
You don't? I thought...
You could have blood and truck nuts.
You could.
Are those conflicting ideologies?
I don't think they're conflicting.
it's-
I just think that they're redundant.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So there's bodies in the back of this truck. And the deputy, I think his name is Russell. From here on out, when I refer to Russell, it would be the deputy.
He does have a Russell vibe.
Yeah. Runs back to the vehicle that they're hiding behind, and these duck hunters from before that discovered the pilot are the ones rounding up people and shooting them in the street and throwing them in the back of the pickup truck.
They don't, like, explicitly show it or really even insinuate, but I got real cannibal vibes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, majorly.
No, these are definitely like the...
Like when you hear banjos paddle faster.
Yeah.
But, like they're collecting bodies.
Yeah, these are definitely like the Ed Gein style, like, I'm going to wear your skin and dance around the house kind of hillbillies.
But they never cross that line to, like, confirm it.
I feel like they weren't given the opportunity.
No.
And I feel like later in the film, we get more evidence to suggest that may be their motivation.
But even then, yeah, I like how they flirted with it. We all got the same idea collectively. But like, anyway, okay. So Duck Dynasty leave. Where do they make it to now?
They try to make it back to Timothy Olyphant's farm. On the way, they end up taking a shortcut that leads them through next to a farm. And as they're walking, they come past the McGregor farm and a young gentleman by the name of Scott T, I believe.
Yeah.
Becca's Boo.
I believe his name is Ska. His parents are probably like punk fans.
Yeah.
And then his middle name was T, or his middle name started with T, so it was Scott T. And he pulls a gun on them, which historically is not a good idea.
Hasn't worked out well for anyone else in this film.
No, which maybe he didn't get the memo. We're putting covers on those, by the way.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting shot a scene or two later, completely unrelated to him pulling the gun out. But, still gets shot.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what happens. It is not what happens.
This is, for me, at least as I'm recalling it, one of the first, like, scenes where, like, they just confirm that, like, the military is not actually really trying to divide up sick and not sick.
They are eliminating.
Yeah, they're just killing indiscriminately. You know, because Scotty's mom, like, runs out of the house, and
his mom gets pulled out of the house. He runs out of the barn where he's hiding with them to intervene, and they just fucking gun him down. And then his mom runs to him, and they fucking gun her down.
And then they burn the body.
Like, they were each shot, like, once, which, like, regardless, like, there's a very... Because they were not shot in the head. There's a very good chance that at least one of them were still alive. And they just fucking walk up with a flamethrower and just torch the bodies.
Not ideal.
So the soldiers...
Not ideal, no. I mean, 1 to 10, that's probably like a 3.
Soldiers go to check out the barn where Scotty came from, and...
Major bummer.
The one soldier that walks through the door immediately gets body checked and gets held hostage by the gang. And
the gang. This is like Scooby.
Yeah.
Scooby and the gang.
I mean, it kind of is at this point.
Roll, Raggy. So they bring him to the back of the barn, and they're asking him questions like, why the fuck are you here? Who the fuck are these people? And why are you doing this? What is going on? Like, I need answers, and I need them now. And he basically is like, hey, I don't know much of anything. I was told to come here, and I didn't know where we were until I saw the license plates. So... he's like, hey, I promise if you let me go, I won't say a word. So they let him rejoin his squad because they realize if they keep holding him hostage and the squad notices that he's missing, they are going to look way harder, and eventually they will be found. So at that point, they let him go, they move on, and they leg it off to Timothy Olyphant's place, where he has a car waiting for them.
They collect some supplies, get into a little tiff with some zombie folk.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I don't want to be, disparaging or derisive towards our fellow zombie citizenry, but they are all evil monsters and deserve to die.
These particular zombie folk are the family of the guy that David shot at the baseball game.
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, it's super interesting too in that, like, so they're clearly affected by whatever is happening, the virus. Their faces are distorted,
they're bleeding and fucking veins popping and shit.
But they're conversing.
Yeah, they are. They definitely they're
remembering.
They're at his house for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
They didn't end up at his house randomly. They ended up at his house because they were angry. Like it first makes you angry at things you have a reason to be angry about, but more angry than you should be.
Right.
And then it makes you angry about kind of everything.
Yeah. It's almost like this virus or whatever it is removes all of your inhibitions and you just act on impulse.
Mm-hmm.
All of your negative impulses.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't like a Phineas Gage situation where he's like, he's acting on good and bad impulses.
And I think we should kind of define they are violent impulses too.
Right.
It doesn't,
it's all negative. It's just.
But it doesn't go into like assault. There isn't any elements of that.
Nobody's looting grocery stores. Nobody's kidnapping people. They are just fucking killing them.
Right. Well, I guess but it wasn't rapey.
Right.
No, I agree. It wasn't rapey, and it wasn't, like you said, it's not looting or anything like that. It is all violent impulse. But it definitely starts with, anger before it progresses to violence. That is definitely, the first symptom, you could say. So, really badass scene where Timothy Olyphant fucking heroes the shit out of it. Dude, he heroes the fuck out of that scene.
Absolutely.
He gets, we'll let the viewers, or we'll let the listeners see how fucking banging Timothy Olyphant can be. And they end up sort of fixing the car that he has in his barn, taking off down the road while they're driving. They get a sense that perhaps the girl might be ill, and perhaps the deputy might be ill. And kind of while they're sorting this out, I should say, as they leave their house, his wife says to him that his deputy is sick. She can tell he's violent. There's a scene, basically, he saves their life by shooting one of the people through a window, but then he comes upstairs and he, aggressively, shoots them both in the head twice.
Multiple times, yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where it's it begins with things that make you angry, but for legitimate reasons, you just sort of react a little bit beyond what you should. Because it's that is absolutely something I feel like I would do. If I was in a situation where the fucking zombies, crazy people, And
you're gonna make sure they stay down.
I would put so many bullets in every fucking important part of that person's body.
Double tap.
Yeah.
But he did it in sort of like this cold, detached way and didn't warn anybody. He just sort of, basically there's like there's 4 people in a room and 2 dead zombies, and he just like starts unloading a 45 into their head, with no warning. And then, obviously that was not a good sign. And so they're driving down the road, and
she starts coughing. Becca.
She starts coughing, and he, again, reacts in a very reasonable way. He's like, are you sick? Are you feeling okay? And they're like, hey, calm down. And he's like,
don't lose your head. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It means don't lose your head. What does that mean?
He gets all fucking angry. But it's like,
totally reasonable.
Totally reasonable. She's coughing. There's like zombies. There's zombies, guys.
I thought that was done really well. That was one thing that I liked about it in that like short little stint where like they questioned is the deputy, is he infected? Is Becca infected? There's even like a bit where like is Timothy Olyphant's character infected? Where like he's also kind of acting a little irrationally.
Yeah.
I thought they did a really good job of not confirming anything, but like making you suspicious of the whole cast.
Yeah, what was that? There was a scene close to this one, if it wasn't this one exactly, where his wife was like saying, just take a road to such and such, and he's like, where the fuck is this magical road to Cedar Rapids, wherever the fuck you're telling me to go? And then she's like, I'm just trying to help. And he's like, you're right, I apologize. And it's like, that is like that scene is injected to be like, oh shit, is he infected?
Is he infected, or is he just letting all of this get to him a little bit?
Which is also totally reasonable.
Absolutely valid. I would be. I have freaked out in the car when there are not zombies around.
I mean, I haven't. It's basically my freakouts in the car have been limited exclusively to when zombies have been around.
That's fair.
Fair. But I've had more practice at this than you, so I don't blame you.
We don't have zombies in the Northwest. So.
No. I mean, it's pretty much a Midwest thing. I mean, this movie took place in Iowa,
right?
So I mean, this is pretty much a Midwest
corn and zombies,
probably corn and zombies
and
exactly.
Faygo.
Corn and zombies and Faygo
in that order.
Corn and zombies is also I mean, I feel like if Slipknot, coming from Des Moines, if Slipknot did not name themselves Slipknot, I feel like it would have been Corn and Zombies.
Now, is that Corn and Zombies? Or, hear me out, Cornin, like Corn -N, like you're corning zombies. Like I'm corning these zombies. I'm corning zombies.
Like cornhole?
I don't know.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Right in the Z hole.
Cornin?
I never fucked a zombie. I don't know.
Can you get the zombie virus by having sex with a zombie?
I'm just saying, like, if you're corning something, like, that sounds a bit provocative.
It's a little dirty.
I mean, their first big hit was called Wait and Bleed, so it's very possible that they were like, okay, I just corned some zombies, and I'm waiting to see if I got the virus.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty sticky.
I got the Z.
Got the big Z.
Okay, so
a little far afield there,
boom,
but we're circling back. So they're driving down the road, and
circling back.
They see what is very clearly an attack helicopter fly over, and they're still driving, and it starts to circle back, and they are like, fuck.
They have that, oh shit moment.
Yeah.
We need a car wash.
They basically pull off into a car wash, and
park the car, kill the engine, stay quiet.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Believe it or not the best idea.
No.
What happens?
Well, they end up getting a car wash.
Zombies happens.
Yeah, so somehow they get locked into the car wash track, and as they're kind of moving through it, it gets turned on or whatever, and you start seeing like silhouettes.
Yeah.
So it's actually really cool.
It was a well done.
It's so creative. Like literally, like your windows are soaping up, and you're just as they're soaping up, you're starting to see like bodies like around the car. That's fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's a very creative way.
There was a great moment in that scene too, because the deputy starts opening fire just randomly out the window.
Again, a reasonable approach.
And David goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I saw movement." And he goes, "We're in a car wash. Everything's fucking moving."
That's true too. Okay, so they're being attacked by the car wash
The car wash
workers.
crazies.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the car will not start.
Nope. But they're continuing down the track because they're kind of being pushed along.
Yep.
Then out of nowhere, back window gets smashed in. Like the front window gets like pulled off. Like it's a whole
There's
thing.
like 3 or 4 zombies coming at him at once,
Yeah.
and he ends up getting
lassoing her neck.
Yeah, he ends up getting the car started and fucking floors it out of there. And meanwhile, the zombie that had ripped off the back window takes one of the sort of random hoses that are feeding, the car wash and wraps it around. Is it Becca. Or Tessa or Jenna
Caitlin.
or any of number
Samantha.
of a fucking
Insert white girl name here.
and wraps it around her neck, and she basically gets yanked out of the back of the car and gets fucking her neck snapped, which objectively
Kindest death in the movie.
best way to go. I mean,
That's
let's give that an 8 out of 10 on like how I'd want to go in this
Millisecond of fear,
scenario.
millisecond of pain, and darkness. Like,
Yep.
So they all get out of the car because she got fucking ripped out of the car. And
they hoist her down.
They kill the zombies, and they're basically like tending to her to make sure she's okay, which she is not.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the car is basically just inching along out of the car wash, and then a fucking like I don't know what the fuck it was,
like a tomahawk missile.
fucking comes in and just annihilates the car. So they are without transportation.
And then the deputy just starts laughing and then just walks away.
Which is that, again,
Reasonable.
is designed to illustrate that his character is starting to
Become a little unhinged.
a little faded, right?
Yeah, but at that point, too,
again,
like-
it's kind of fucking like if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yep.
We just had fucking wheels, and they got blown up by a goddamn missile.
We fought, bled, killed, and hiked, hid, and kidnapped,
and died.
on our way to get this car.
And it got blown up.
Moments later.
Yeah. Which, it's good that we were not in it. But at the same time, like, the fuck?
Yep.
Can't catch a fucking break.
So they decide they're headed to the town or they're headed to the truck stop.
They're headed to the truck stop because they think that it's either a place that is far enough removed
Beyond the roadblock.
that, it's beyond the roadblock, so it might not be affected, or it might have wheels to get them to Cedar Rapids.
Right. Okay, so they're on
I mean,
foot.
let's just be honest. You know you're in trouble when your salvation is Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Mm-hmm. We know that you've got a problem if that's where you're excited to go.
We are in big trouble.
I feel bad now that I said that because our Cedar Rapids listeners are going to dry up and our fan is going to be upset.
Yeah.
We can afford it.
Sorry, Dave.
Poor Dave. Okay, so Mark's over here doing coke.
Sharing is caring, buddy.
So they're walking down the road and they see a couple of vehicles. They actually see the vehicle that the deputy said several times already that the government like spiked his tires. He was actually on his way out of town to go and talk to somebody, and they spiked his tires, and that's how he got sort of abducted and
Rounded up.
Yeah, the rest of the town got rounded up. And so they find his vehicle and another vehicle abandoned, and they're kind of searching them for supplies and shit like that. And off in the distance, they see a black SUV just barreling towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Timothy's character, his plan is to try to hijack this vehicle. They're going to utilize it. And so he's kind of standing there with his gun pointed at the driver, just kind of hoping, I guess, that they're going to stop and they can somehow commandeer the vehicle.
And excuse me, carjacking is a crime.
Yeah.
Right.
You're supposed to be a police officer upholding the law.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Mom. Sister.
Aunt.
Nana.
Cousin.
Grandmother. Nana. I'm sorry.
Steven.
I'm
What?
sorry. He said Nana. I said grandmother. I fucked up.
Oh, jeez.
I fucked up, guys.
God.
I fucked up. So the deputy comes out of nowhere and throws out some spikes.
Sorry, I'm still on the... I fucked up, guys.
The SUV flips like a little...
Like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah. They just want to make... The director wanted to make sure you knew that vehicle was done.
Yep.
So,
Incapacitado.
yeah.
He also, like, when he threw out that spike strip, like, he was jazzed.
He was grinning.
He was, I mean, it literally was, he was excited about it, which again is kind of supposed to illustrate that, like, this dude is not in his right mind.
No.
Because you need a functioning vehicle to do what you're trying to do. And the dude just, I'm angry because they spiked my tires. And he
so I'm gonna spike their tires.
Fucking throws out this thing, and, you know, the goddamn car flips, like Mark said, like 12 times. 17 times.
Yeah.
11 times.
More times than you'd expect.
More times than one.
Okay.
Between 1 and 100.
The driver is alive just long enough to provide some exposition.
And then the deputy fucking
shoots
puts
him.
one in his brain.
Yeah, so basically the deputy's coming up and he's going to shoot the guy. And Timothy Olyphant's like, no, I want to talk to him. So he pulls him out and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And, of course, the guy doesn't say anything, smacks him around a little bit, and he's like, basically, it was a biological weapon that we designed that was on its way to an incinerator in Texas, and the plane went down, and now it got into your water supply, and it was designed to destabilize the population, and here we are.
Yeah, designed to destabilize the population, obviously not this one.
Yeah.
And right before he bites it, he says, so we lost a plane, what do you want me to do about it?
That is so... It's such a good, like, it's such a good line.
Oh.
Like, in the, like, hey, it was a mistake, guys. Okay, a couple thousand people died.
Big whoop. You want to fight about
whoop. No, but the exposition around this, like a little aside here, if not directly inspired by, completely mimics the idea of, are you guys familiar with Operation Chrome Dome?
No.
So this was an operation undertaken by the U.S. government during the Cold War that basically mandated, especially at the height of the Cold War, that there were always 2 planes in the air carrying nuclear weapons at all times. So basically they had a fleet of planes that were carrying nukes, and they would basically just fly around the world aimlessly, and basically when they had to land, 2 more took off. And
makes sense.
I don't have to tell you that, like, just having planes in the air indefinitely will eventually lead to, like, planes having problems and things going wrong. And so there were actually, like, a lot of instances, like, not a lot in the, like, objective sense, but a lot in the, like,
it happened more than once.
Nuclear sense, right? Like, you've seen that meme where it's like, is 4 a lot? And it's like, well, it depends on what you're talking about. Dollars? No. Deaths? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, is 4 a lot? It depends on what you're talking about. Dollars? No. Lost nukes? Yes.
Yeah.
So that happened a number of times. The U.S. government lost nuclear weapons basically because they had this program where there were always 2 planes in the air carrying a nuclear payload.
I'm not going to say it was poorly thought out, but it was poorly thought out.
I'm not going to say the thing, but that's definitely the thing. There's still a nuke off the Carolina coast that has not been recovered, and I'm not even close to joking about that. So back to my original statement, if this was not directly inspired by that idea, right? A plane is in the air carrying something exceedingly dangerous, and it goes down. What the fuck do you do, right? If it's not inspired by that, it's a massive coincidence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there is this biological weapon that should never have been fucking engineered in the first place, and they decide to put it on a fucking plane, and it crashes in the middle of Bumfucksville and causes this, like, heinous catastrophe.
Ogden Marsh.
You just have some goddamn pencil-pushing, you know, asshole who's sitting there going, we lost a plane, what do you want me to do about it? And it's like, oh, you know what I want to do about it? I want to wring your fucking neck is what I want to do about it.
We dropped a plane. You act like it's the first time we've dropped a plane with a biological contagion that was designed to destabilize a population.
Grow up, Cindy.
Grow up.
God.
This is like the 50th time this has happened.
Like, this is so not a big deal.
This is so 1950s.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought that was like a fascinating little aside that I wanted to work in at some point. But you were saying, so he's having a cordial conversation with the gentleman from the government.
Yes. Dude dies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Deputy can't...
His head exploded. Why? It just kind of like popped.
It was an accident. Fell down an elevator shaft.
Onto some bullets.
Yep. Okay, so at this point, they now realize that the deputy cannot be trusted. They take his gun away from him. He doesn't like that so much.
Didn't respond well.
Not his favorite thing.
Yeah. In short order, he ends up getting the guns and is walking them.
They didn't take his sidearm. They took his rifle. And then they turned their back on him. Which, again, so this is going to be something that I like and don't like about this movie, and I'm going to bring this up later, but, like, one thing I liked, as I mentioned, is that it proceeds so organically, and people make good decisions, and they're smart. And then, like, later in the movie, the decisions begin to drop off in their, like, believability and good sense.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. They basically, like, he goes into the car to search for shit, and he leaves his rifle outside, and they take his rifle, but he's still got a sidearm. And then he goes to the road where they're waiting for him, and he's like, let me carry my rifle. And they're like, oh, no, you've been carrying it long enough. I'll carry it for you. So obvious what the fuck they're doing. And then they turn their back on him and decide to walk down the road. What the fuck do you think he's going to do? He pulls his gun on them and says, like, give me the fucking guns. Takes Timothy Olyphant's sidearm and is basically leading them forward like prisoners, right? You know, marches them forward.
He's supposed to be the crazy one, yet he's, you know, walking them in a much better method. Right, though? Like,
no, you're right. You're
like,
right.
He's the one.
He's the one who's supposed to be, like, suffering from, like, mental problems. And he definitely somehow got the jump on them.
Slowly degrading, and he tricked them into getting all the guns and walking in front of him.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so they make it to the checkpoint on foot.
And at one during this walk, Timothy Olyphant manages to talk him down just long enough to lower the gun, gets the drop on him, and that's when they realize, oh, this dude's sick because he's starting to bleed from his nose and his mouth. And so they take all the guns away from him, and he's like, hey, is it cool if I walk with you guys for a bit?
Yeah, he acknowledges that he is not long for this
world.
He's
figured it out. And the answer to that question is no. What they did is not that.
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit and say, like, the deputy is my absolute favorite character in this movie.
I would agree.
He is so fucking awesome. You could not imagine, you couldn't engineer a fucking better wingman. I mean, not only does he, like, do good things, but he doesn't do dumb things.
Right.
And I feel like the deputy, the second in command, is always responsible for some fuck up in, like, every movie. And he doesn't. He saves Timothy Olyphant 3 fucking times.
Yep. From certain death. Even after this dude knows he's infected. Mm-hmm. He still doesn't kill them. I shouldn't say he knows he's infected at that point, but he is clearly suffering from some shit and still manages to rein himself in and doesn't kill them. And then when Timothy Olyphant finally, like, fucking wrestles the gun from him, he's laying there and he's cogent enough to say, like, I ain't right, am I? And he recognizes it, and, you know, he doesn't want to die at that moment. And he says, like, can I please walk with you? Like, he's so fucking, like, aware of himself in the situation. And he knows at that point that if he goes too far off the deep end that he'll be put down.
Kinda, yeah.
Like, he knows.
But I feel like, you know, the way a lot of the other characters were acting at that sort of same stage of infection,
they were not as cogent as
exactly.
he was.
The fact that he's still fucking, like, you know, boxing in, like, an even quasi, like, salient realm and self-aware realm suggests that, like, his standard capacity for those things was, like, you know, out the window. That dude was really fucking smart, capable, and the most instrumental character in this movie by far.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think we can kind of pick up the pace a little bit here.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They hit a checkpoint. The deputy ends up sacrificing himself to get them through that scene. They end up at the truck stop that they've been looking for. They end up running back into Duck Dynasty.
They find more than you know, shitty burgers and hot dogs on hot rollers.
Yeah, the vehicles that they were using to round up the sick people are parked there with all the burned corpses inside them and piles of shells everywhere. So that's your first sign that maybe shit's not okay anymore. And then they run into the hillbillies that were rounding up people, and suddenly shit goes all kinds of sideways.
Yeah, these hills have eyes.
Yeah.
We sort of suggested earlier that Duck Dynasty had like a kind of cannibal vibes.
It's just throw people in the freezer.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that they were like
on meat hooks,
collecting people and putting them in an industrial freezer on meat hooks and on shelves suggests that the intention was to munch on these people's.
But that's as far as they took it.
Yep,
like
they took it right to the line, and then they were like, "We'll let people decide."
Well, the skillet was heating up.
Was it?
Yeah, no, they preheated the oven. The skillet was like on; it had the oil, but they had not quite started carving up the populace and throwing them in there.
Could have been some like Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Blue box.
Okay, so I think we need to necessarily belabor it any longer. Like
sets dude on fire in the engine bay.
Yeah, they get out of there.
One sort of like interesting bit about that I noticed. So like this was like in the fight with Duck Dynasty, they're going to steal an 18-wheeler or just the actual like
just the tip.
It's funny because it's like a penis thing.
Because she's pregnant, get it?
But so they're gonna steal this big rig, and it's getting serviced, and it's but it's got the what do you even call that? It's like the kind of carve out right in the floor where the
changing oil.
Yeah, the vehicle can just sort of roll over it, and you can.
I think they just call it things
like
pit.
Sure, you can do things like change the oil and shit. But it was interesting. I got my oil changed at a place with a buddy of mine who's from Ireland, and he said that those things where you like drive over and they service the car from underneath are like super duper illegal in Europe for the very reason that we saw in this movie. Because if a fire starts down there, which is very possible because you're literally draining flammable fluids from a vehicle constantly, there's not an easily accessible or appropriate escape route.
There's no
so
fire.
So you're literally in the bottom of a fucking fire pit.
Yep. There's no fire escape.
No. And so I just found that fascinating that like these things are still commonplace like all over the US.
I mean, it makes sense.
I understand them. Like they're so fucking convenient, and you don't have the risk of like a hydraulic jack giving out, right? And like coming down on you. But at the same time, if a fire starts, like you are fucked.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was like a fascinating tidbit to sort of toss in.
Okay, steal the truck. They're going down the road. Military nukes the city.
Yeah, there's a countdown over the radio, and she's watching out the back glass, and they watch the nuke go off, and just blows the truck off the highway, and suddenly they're back on foot.
Somehow they can still see, even though they're only 20 miles away from a nuclear bomb that they watched.
Literally have that as one of my like things I did not like is they would be so fucking blind.
I'm pretty sure they could still watch it with their eyes closed. Like,
yes,
right through their eyes. But I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So the movie closes with them walking towards Cedar Rapids, and there's a satellite image zoomed in on them walking through this field, and it zooms out, and then it says initiate containment protocol, and then fades to black.
Yep.
So you know it's going to happen again.
Yep.
Because the containment protocol worked so well the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I feel like that was like a pretty solid overview of the movie. I liked walking back through it.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought that was good. What did we like about this movie?
I enjoyed that it was a unique twist on the zombie genre. I always like it when there's something different, because it's such a well-trodden path.
I'm going to push back slightly on that.
Fight me.
Do you feel like it was, like, particularly unique?
I do.
So I feel like the zombie genre broadly breaks down into two categories, and that's undead, like coming out of a grave type zombies, and infectious zombies.
Yep, undead versus outbreak.
Yeah, I feel like this movie fell very squarely within the outbreak category, and I think there were like a handful of maybe like exceptions to that rule, but I don't know if I would say it was unique enough to call out the fact that it was unusual.
Well, I wouldn't say unusual.
Okay.
But I would say that it is... It's a unique spin, and it's executed well enough that I feel like it stands on its own.
So traditionally in an outbreak zombie film, you have mindless rage monster killing machines that, their brainstem has been destroyed or their brain has just melted and they are just acting on basic instinct and basic impulse. They see a living thing, they kill it.
They're acting only on that Michael Douglas film with Glenn Close. That's
right.
it.
Yep. Yeah. In this one, there's no running. There's no chasing, screaming. There's no clawing at windows or trying to climb up walls or, like we saw in World War Z, just piles and piles and piles of super fast zombies. They are methodical. They are conversational.
I do like the fact that it progresses slowly.
Yeah.
In that the disease progresses, like, it's not like 1 second you're not a zombie and the next you are a zombie. It does, like, okay, you go through this phase of, like, I'm just sitting here staring. Or, like, I'm repeating myself. Or, like, I'm getting angry for no reason. And then it sort of advances to, like, you know, I'm killing people.
Yep.
And it's like, now I'm fucking, you know, you know. I get that. I get that. I don't think it's totally, like, novel.
Well, like,
but I do appreciate
how many
that.
zombie movies are there where the zombies actually, like, work together? And not in like a plague sense where they're just kind of acting as one organism.
They're just like ignoring each other, but they're actually like coordinating. I guess that's true.
I mean, even like 28 Days Later, which is like what I think
the greatest zombie movie of all time. Yes.
Yeah, or at least the greatest infectious zombie movie of all time. I don't know if I'm ready to like fully endorse it.
I go there, but I get the fact that you hesitate towards greatest infectious zombie movie.
Right.
I get that.
But even then, like, they're effectively mindless.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely fast acting.
This is the only like zombie-esque movie that I think I've seen where they are planning and coordinating and conversing outside of like demonic zombies, which is like its own spin.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like
that's
Evil
kind of
Dead,
weird.
where
that's
they're
kind
taunting.
of a weird. I feel like that's a weird subcategory of the undead zombie.
Yeah,
is the demonic zombie.
Yep.
But the fact that like we're just like there's so many like subcategories within the genre means it's very worn out, and I felt like this was still entertaining.
I would say
definitely. It didn't feel. I think
stale.
Yeah, like yes, exactly. I feel like your argument is very convincing in the sense that like it does not feel trite, it doesn't feel exhausted, it doesn't feel stale. And the fact that like a zombie movie can still feel like that is a good thing. Yeah, right? Like it must have at least explored some new territories. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel like that, right? Yeah. You wouldn't feel like it's still engaging, and fun.
It's a nuanced perspective of a classic category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the quippiness of Timothy Olyphant.
I really enjoyed the dialogue in this movie.
There were a lot of fucking great one-liners. I love that fucking intro.
Yeah.
I thought that, okay, we're just going to fucking, like, everything is burning.
We're going to drop you in it and then reel you back.
Yeah, then we're going to reel you back, and then we're going to fucking hit the gas.
Yep.
I fucking love that.
And then they revisit it, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Right at the end that you see, it's like, oh, shit.
It's definitely, like, cheesy but lovable in, like, sort of a Americana kind of way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the beginning, even though it hits the gas, that 2.5 minutes before the fucking zombie shit hits, they definitely punch that Hallmark-style movie bullshit that makes it seem, you know...
Believable
and wholesome, I guess is you feel like you're destroying something.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is so fucked up, but it's important for a horror movie. You need to develop something to destroy. And the world is fucking horrible and heinous, and like you can't show any of that in a horror movie because it doesn't make you empathize with the thing that is getting destroyed if the thing is already shit. Right. Does that make sense? Like, you can't show the horrors of the world before a horror thing destroys it. And I feel like they did an amazing job at distilling a wholesome sort of bumfucksville town that's happy, wholesome, and like, oh, come on, you're dating Scotty, and, it's the worst kept secret in town, and and all that stupid
Scotty
bullshit.
Doesn't know.
But it's like, that's what you want, right? You want that stupid bullshit.
They stitch together enough layers that it feels real.
Exactly.
I really loved that almost the entire movie was practical effects.
Yeah.
Like, this movie needed very little to no CGI. I think the only situation where I was able to really see CGI was the nuke and when the dude was on fire in the repair bay.
I actually thought that looked really good.
I mean, it looked great.
But it was CGI.
But I don't believe they set a man on fire.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I thought that was fantastic. Like, all of the zombies had, like, the latex and
for sure.
The perfect face paint, and like the makeup was done really well. The weapons were all realistic.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
I thought some of the directing was outstanding. So, like, the scene in particular that I'm thinking of is when Timothy Olyphant's wife, the doctor, is getting wheeled in on the stretcher. She's getting, like, basically pushed on this gurney on this stretcher, and she's looking up at this, fully sort of hazmat-style soldier who's got this big gas mask on and shit and is pushing her. And he's, like, looking down at her, and the scene is basically from her perspective, looking up at the soldier and seeing her reflection of just, like, pain and anguish in these sort of, like, dead gas mask eyes. And it was extremely well shot.
Yeah.
I just remember, like, looking at the scene, like, I don't want to call it beautiful. It's like a fucked up way of describing the scene, but
it works.
It works. It's so creative. It's such an amazingly interesting way of doing this thing, even though I'm not totally convinced that the whole satellite imagery thing worked. If it pulled me out maybe a little bit too much, but I will give it props for creativity and for, like, an amazing way at delivering exposition that would have otherwise felt probably forced. Also, I felt like a lot of the dialogue was kind of real, right? Like, one of my quotes, I'm going to get a little ahead of ourselves, but, like, one of my quotes was, like, Timothy Olyphant says to his wife, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Not really."
Yeah.
It's like, yes, that's right. You're not okay. You're living in the middle of a fucking zombie apocalypse.
Right. And I think I already kind of mentioned it before, but like the scenes where the scene plays out where you're questioning the sanity of our main characters, like in the car. We already talked about it, but you're just questioning whether is the sheriff infected, is the deputy infected, is Becca infected. I think that they did a really good job in a short span of time of, like, making sure that you weren't comfortable pinning your expectations onto any of the main characters. So I appreciated that, too. Can we move on to things maybe we didn't? Or was there anything else that we wanted to jump out?
Not really.
Things I did not like. So, again, like I said, I felt like the beginning of the movie was sort of punctuated by, like, amazingly, like, prescient and reasonable decisions by the main characters. The latter part of the movie, I feel like, was punctuated by the exact opposite. Splitting up constantly, which is so fucking dumb in a situation like this. Like, at one point, she literally, when they made it to the truck stop, she literally says to him, like, after they decide they're gonna, make a run for it, "Are you gonna go get the truck?" Why the fuck is he going to get the truck alone by himself? That's so dumb. Why would you do that?
Well, she sits there and does nothing, and he's, like, grabbing supplies.
She's literally sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, at a fucking, the table at the diner.
And it doesn't fit her character either.
No, she's very self-sufficient. She's very, like...
prepared.
Yeah.
It was definitely contrived. They needed them to be separate. They needed the plot to be facilitated.
And then she, like, runs into the fucking, like, meat freezer, and she's just, like, staring at the people out of the fucking thing. It's like, they're gonna notice you, and then guess what? They noticed her.
Dude, that whole time I'm like, get the fuck up off your knees.
Yes.
Like, she's behind the counter. She's in the meat. Like, get off the floor.
Yeah.
Get off the floor.
Stand up.
You cannot run.
There are things you can do to fight. None of them can be done from your knees.
No.
Fuck.
And then, also sort of in that vein, and in that scene as well, the shrieking. Like, I feel like she was such a controlled character in the beginning of the movie. But, like, when they opened the door to the big rig and the driver falls out dead, she, like, shrieks. And it's like,
how did you not expect that?
Yeah, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're literally running from somebody. I get the guy, but shrieking doesn't help you. Like, in any sense of the word. Like, screaming in that situation doesn't help you. Drives me fucking nuts. And it's like, if you want to make the argument, it's like, oh, well, people can't control what they do in those situations. Yeah, but, like...
You become desensitized.
That, but also, like, nobody can control. So, like, why is it always, like, the fucking...
Why is it always the female lead?
Yeah, why is the woman who went through medical school, who's seen, like, horrors, dissected corpses and shit, why is she the one shrieking? Like, Timothy Olyphant could equally be shrieking.
Yeah. He could have just opened fire on that body as a panic response.
Right.
That would have been as valid as her shrieking.
Sure.
It still would have been fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think, while they didn't really work into the movie as, like, that was the thing that alerted Duck Dynasty to come and fucking try and kill them, it's still like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah.
Why are you shrieking? And then the other thing, we've already mentioned was you would be instantly fucking blind if you, like, looked at a nuclear explosion, like, 10 miles behind you. And the thing is, like, they're driving away in this big rig, and there's a goddamn, like, on the radio, they're, like, doing a countdown. You're just like, what happens when they get to 0? And it's like, what the fuck?
What do you think happens?
What the fuck do you think is gonna happen? And then she, like, they're, like, looking out the back window. She's literally, like, in the cab, turned around, looking at the back window, and I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen? What do you think's what's the top 3 things you think could possibly be happening right now?
What's the best case scenario
here? And it's like, if anywhere on your list of top 3, top 5, top 10 is like nuclear explosion, maybe you shouldn't be fucking looking out the back window.
At best, they carpet bomb with like F-22s
napalm
or something. But
Yeah. To be fair, though, of the time, I don't think that we collectively as a society... Like, I remember when I first saw this, that didn't jump out at me as being like, that's silly. I just accepted it and moved on.
Really? Okay.
And then, like, when I saw it in the theater,
I gotcha. Okay.
Also, and for whatever reason, it bothered me that, like, the shockwave had enough force to pick up a semi, but not enough to shatter its windows.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll follow you there.
It shattered the back glass, but it didn't shatter anything else.
Yeah, I don't think...
Another fucking reason to not be looking out the back window.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Right.
So yeah, I think my major gripe with the movie would basically be like, as much as I love the very reasoned and appropriate decisions and responses in the beginning of the movie, I felt like the end of the movie was punctuated by poor decisions and sort of like unreasonable responses.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that does not or wholly ruin my perception of this movie.
Yeah, all of my negatives are nitpicks in that, like, you're going into this looking for a zombie-esque movie. You can't be worried about these things. Like, just accept it.
Agreed.
So
I would say it definitely comes out way ahead of most zombie movies in terms of, like, reasonable decisions.
I will say my only gripe that hasn't already been mentioned is the score was immediately forgettable.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like in some ways, though, like, I think we've discussed this before, is like, that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't remember the score, it did its job.
Right.
If you remember it, it's either because it was amazing...
or distracting.
Or fucking terrible and distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it as we were, like, getting ready to wrap this movie and, like, recap, and I was like, I don't remember the music at all. I don't remember the score at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was completely forgettable from the moment we saw the credits.
Which, yeah.
Are we ready to move on to quotes?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start us off. I've got 2 of them. Both of these. I think this first one is like in the beginning. The second one is kind of a mid quote. But this is Timothy Olyphant's character. I think he's talking to the sheriff. It's after
he is the sheriff.
Okay, he's talking to the deputy. Whatever.
Deputy, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
same, whatever. None of this matters.
Well, one of them got shot. One of them didn't get shot.
Well, okay. Admittedly,
that's fair.
I shot the sheriff.
But you didn't shoot the
deputy. Did not shoot the deputy.
Okay. Fuck. After they put together that this came from a military aircraft and it is spreading throughout the community, now none of our phones work, the internet doesn't work. He turns to the deputy and he says, "You know what? We're in trouble." He like kind of puts together that like, okay, so we're penned in here. I got a bad feeling about this.
Which I fucking love. Like, that, I feel like it happens in the beginning of the film, and it plays that sort of like, these characters are very aware. They know how fucking bad this is.
There's outside interference, and they don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And
they're not just like, oh, the phone lines are down. They're like, somebody is fucking cutting off our access to the outside world, and this is fucking bad.
Yeah. You don't have that classic, I don't have a signal. Do you have a signal? No, I've got nothing. And then there's that one guy that's like, I have no bars.
No, it was like it was just immediate. Like, you know what? We're in trouble.
Yep.
You know? My second quote, again, kind of a midpoint. This is after they've been rounded up and they're at the processing center. He's talking to just one of the other townspeople, and the other guy is encouraging the sheriff to just get the fuck out of there. You know, like don't try to be a hero, just run. And Timothy's character kind of says to the other guy, don't ask me why I can't leave without my wife. And I won't ask you why you can. You know,
brutal.
just, you know,
right in the gut.
No, I can't leave. I need to go rescue my wife. What the?
Why aren't you doing the same thing?
Yeah,
your wife is in the same spot mine is.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
a good quote.
You know, I do like it, that's fucking. It's such a brutal line, but at the same time, like that guy is literally talking about people like being killed, being shot down because they were trying to do something, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, in some respects, I do kind of see that guy's point of like, how much help are you going to be to your wife if you just try to run in there and they fucking gun you down and now you're dead? And for all you guys know, for all the shit that's going on, maybe they've got a vaccine for this shit. Or maybe she'll be fine at some point. Like, you know, like, maybe it's not the best idea to go charging in, you know, guns blazing and get gunned down, and then now you're dead and you are no help to anybody.
Right.
Now it turns out Timothy Olyphant was obviously correct in that situation,
yes.
And
yes.
The other guy got fucking gunned down and torched. But
Timothy Olyphant was
but I don't think
lucky.
I don't think that guy's opinion was like completely unreasonable. But Timothy Oliphant's quote was devastating.
From his perspective, it made sense. From Timothy's perspective, it made sense.
Yeah. Okay, so one of mine was in the very beginning of the movie when they're watching the baseball game. Scotty, who later gets shot with his mom, we described that. The sheriff and the deputy are watching the baseball game, and the deputy watches Scotty pitch, and he goes, "Ooh, that kid throws fast." And the sheriff goes, "Yeah, just like he drives."
Just a great little throwaway line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little quip. And then, similarly, earlier in the movie, we mentioned that, like, he's trying to get his wife to go to her sister's house to get the fuck out of town. And he says, you got to get out of here. And she's like, I'm not leaving. Are you leaving? And he goes, I'm the sheriff. He goes, well, I'm their doctor. And he goes, yeah, well, if it turns out what they need is a shot of penicillin, I'll give you a call. Yeah. Fucking awesome.
Brutal.
Delivered beautifully.
Fucking awesome. Ugh. Because at this point, you know something really fucky is going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have three. The first one is when they're in the swamp and they discover the pilot's body. The sheriff gets called in. They bring the coroner. They're checking the place out. And the coroner goes, you want I should check for ID? And Timothy Olyphant just looks at him dead in the eyes and goes, yeah, do that. Later, they're in the truck going away from the swamp, and the deputy Russell, he goes, I think Miller said something about heard a loud bang and a plane crash, but I didn't think anything of it. And Olyphant, without missing a beat, goes, on account of him being full of shit. And Russell says, yeah, as a general rule.
Oh man, it's good dialogue.
It is.
And
very quippy.
My last one, Timothy's character is describing this car that he has that's up on blocks in his barn. And Russell's like, you still have that thing? He says, yeah. Well, guess you can't boot a car without wheels.
Most of our quotes are from Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
But he delivers them with like the same kind of cold intelligence.
Yeah.
That I feel like is the hallmark of like I'm trying to think of somebody else. Like, he's like the Hannibal Lecter of quips. Like, it's this cold, detached delivery, but it's so fucking funny because, like, he knows that he's right.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready to rate this?
Let's rate this bitch.
Lurdern?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start us off because I've already got it queued up. All right, I'm going to go 7.4.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty high for a horror. Like, yeah, I think it was well made. Empty main streets.
Oh, shit.
Took me a minute to come up with that.
Okay, I gotcha. I think I'm going to go 5.9.
Okay.
Pitchforks.
Oh, see, I was...
Did I steal that?
Kind of. I'll think of another one and then I'll tell you my original thought.
Okay.
I'm going to give this a 6.6 Apache helicopter bombings.
Oh, okay.
My original idea was Pitchfork Stabbings, which, fun fact, is a band name.
Pitchfork Stabbings?
Yep.
Like as an actual band name.
Yeah.
An actual band name? Or
No. Like
our band name.
Like our band name. pitchfork stabbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about that.
All right, so let's.
Are we gonna scene it?
I feel like we did a harmony last time. Should we do a harmony this time?
Yeah, we could do that.
Over.
Scene score.
Scene score.
Scene score.
Fuck, that was really nice.
That was tight.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is time for the scene score. With everything that we gave it, our average rating was 6.63, and our scene score adjusted how much you guys have seen it, which is not much. Only 1 out of 10 familiar with the movie. 7.8 is our scene score today. 7.79, 7.8 with, a little bit of fuzz in there. 7 points.
That feels pretty good.
That's punchy. That's punchy. I think that's right, though, right? Like, I don't think it punches like a 7.8 objectively, but I feel like for the number of people who've seen this movie, I mean, fucking, as far as familiarity is concerned, 1 out of 10 is not good.
Oh, shit.
More people need to see this.
We never even, explicitly covered this. Colin and I have seen this. This is Jackson's
Yeah,
cherry.
I had never seen this one.
Oh, we didn't cover cherries.
Yeah, it's a little pop, He's a little pop, pop. I don't know if you heard it.
I'm familiar with it. I know the movie exists, and I saw the cover art of the movie, but I never actually got to see it. And I always wanted to, but it was one of those movies that sort of faded into the back of my mind. Kind of forgot that it was there, which is literally the whole point of us doing this is watching those movies.
Yeah, no, I think honestly that's the reason we don't have 0 out of 10 on our familiarity score. I think one person was like, yeah, I've heard of this, but I have not seen it.
Right.
Okay. Are we Laura Dern?
I think we're Laura Dern.
Well, that's all for the All Crep review. Thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for movie reviews, please email us at 3, that is the number 3, meninaBasement@gmail.com. Please be sure to check out Booger Children. They just dropped their single Rehydrated.
Yeah.
And they are next level.
They are insane.
They're filming right now Partially Hydrogenated Booger Children, which is their big breakout movie.
I'm super stoked for that one.
And we've got Corn and Zombies also is opening for them, as well as Pitchfork Stabbin'. If you would like to contribute to the scene score in future episodes, please reach out to us at 3meninaBasement@gmail.com. Alternatively, our website has everything that you need to contribute to the scene score and say, hey, get on our mailing list, and we'll send you a weekly-ish survey of your familiarity with upcoming movies. Gives you a little sneak peek of what we're going to cover.
Also, if you send us an email, there's a chance that we might call you out by name. I'm not going to guarantee it. I'm just saying you increase the likelihood of us doing that.
Right. So, hypothetically, if somebody named Raphael emailed us and suggested that for Black History Month we cover Pootie Tang and or Undercover Brother, I would call him out by name.
Yeah.
If his name were Raphael.
Hypothetically.
Right. That suggestion, unfortunately, came in a little too late. We had a little hiccup in our schedule, as you might already know. So, sorry to Raphael. Pootie Tang is actually on our list to review. It's a fucking awesome movie, and it will be reviewed in this podcast, I swear. But please keep sending us emails. Please keep calling us out. But that's, I think, all we've got for this episode. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. And until then, I am Colin McLeod.
Mark Club.
Action Jackson.
And we'll see you in cyberspace.
Pew, pew, pew.